Ahoy, fellow adventurers and Imagineers! Welcome to the ship. Man, leave reality behind. I don't know about you, but I am ready to. It's been a long week. It's just been a long week, you know. It's you get to this point of the week and it's like, can we just end it already? Can we just make it to the weekend? You know what I'm saying? But we can't yet. We're almost there. And when we get to the game in Galleon, which is where we are, you know that the weekend is not far behind. Thank you for coming to this little ship of adventure, gaming, comedy, well, sometimes comedy, and imagination. I am Captain Reyes, and what you see before you, my friends, is the finest pirate ship to ever sail the Silicon Seas. That's right, not the Seven Seas, the Silicon Seas. Way more than seven. I mean, think about that. You ever hear of Sliders? It was this show about this guy, this scientist. He was like 16, high school student, and he figures out a way he creates this machine that allows him to step into parallel dimensions. You know, everything from a world where dinosaurs never died to, a world where Elvis is still alive. Green means go and red means, red means go and green means stop. How exciting to think about that world. All those other worlds, I mean, is there a place out there where, there's some wacky guy who has a train full of books, and he just reads them for the internet? I don't know. Who's to say? Maybe that's on Twitch. Has anyone found that channel yet? All right. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. We've got a lot going on today. We're at the Wyndham West Hotel, which is snug right deep in right in Indianapolis, actually, near the airport. We didn't go very far this week. We parked the ship right in the parking lot there. It's free parking, so they didn't mind. And basically, we're here because last weekend, Patty the Swallow and I attended the Toy Faire. Indianapolis Toy Fair. Another convention. What can I say? When it comes to conventions, I am going to go. Mainly because it's like stepping into another world. And usually you can see all kinds of outlandish things. It's always a fun place to look for retro video games. Usually they're priced really badly, but it's about the hunt. It's about going out there and seeing what's really, there waiting for you. So we went mainly because we also knew that Felicia, the owner of Boss Battle Games, was going to be there with a booth and about four arcade machines. So she had two Mamecades, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, and X-Men Children of the Atom. And I mean, what else do you need? You got a badass fighting game there, you got an action RPG that saves your progress, and then two Mamecades with everything under the sun. One of them specializing mainly in static 4-bit to 8-bit video games, and the other one specializing more in the 16-bit era fighting games and brawlers and shoot-'em-ups. Me and Pat, we gravitated toward the Mamecade with the 16-bit stuff because we wanted to really focus on Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. He is a Street Fighter nut these days. He's playing a lot of Street Fighter 5. He is definitely the best one on the ship at the moment. He practices all the time, constantly, not just playing sparring online, which is usually how I play a Street Fighter game. I always have to play against somebody if I'm going to play Street Fighter, but he will take the time to go into these challenge modes and learn every single, frame animation, move to get these combos off. And, obviously, in the end, that pays in wins, because he's able to pull off, these large combos, whereas I'm playing more of a stick and move kind of game. And he gets me so mad. He gets me so mad because Pat's a real individual. I think everybody here on the ship, we're real individuals. I mean, how can you not be hanging on a pirate ship full of video games? But he's got this thing about him where when it comes to video games or Street Fighter, he's like, this is how you have to do it. Otherwise, you're never going to make it. And he's talking about combos. You have to learn the combos. You have to learn these challenges. You have to do this. And I hate being told that I have to do anything. It's definitely a weakness on my part. So when you get somebody as individualistic as Pat telling me that I have to do something while he's beating me at Street Fighter, that can be too much for me to handle. Most of the time we do piracy here and older games. Every so often on this channel, you're going to see me and Pat play a little Street Fighter 5, and I usually walk away totally salty. I'm the saltiest of sea dogs because he's very good, and I just don't have the patience or the time to really sit back in these challenge rooms and get better. So, what are you going to do? But that's never going to stop me from playing him. That's certainly never going to stop us from going to a convention and seeing, our friend Felicia, especially she's got some games there to hang out. And so we went out to Wyndham West Hotel, no more than about 20 minutes away from where the ship's docked. It's one little rule about Indianapolis. If you ever ask how far something is away, the answer is inevitably it's about 20 minutes from here. So we showed up there, parked, and I gotta say it was one of the weirdest conventions I'd ever been to, because being here in Indianapolis is known for hosting really big conventions and hosting them well. The Indianapolis Convention Center is massive. And Gen Con, our biggest geek fest, if you will, was so big this year that it not only took over the Indianapolis Convention Center, many of the surrounding hotels, but it even bled into the Lucas Oil Stadium, which for many, or if you don't know, is the home of the Indianapolis Colts, our professional NFL team. So if that gives you an idea of the size of and scope of the conventions we're used to going to, there you have it. So to go from that to this toy fair that took place in one hotel, it was a little weird, mainly because it was so intimate. Everything was very cramped. Every room was filled with vendors and panels, but you're used to having maybe a good 20-foot berth away from these panel people, 30 people away who were answering questions. You'd be 5 feet away from these guys, and for me that was weird. It was a little unearthing. Is that right? I don't know what I'm trying to say. We're running out of time here. Basically, you'd have guys in the hallway doing podcasts as you're walking by. I mean, literally, the chest is doing a podcast as I'm walking by his table. I don't know. It was weird. I'm used to getting lost in those crowds, and I know that sounds strange, since I am the guy who's walking around with a pirate ship, pirate hat and a Jolly Roger. But it was just unnerving for me. Anyway, we'll talk about a little more about that later on. Let's get to the game that we're playing today, which I haven't even mentioned. I apologize for that. I thought the best game to pick, since Pat and I had been playing fighting games all weekend, and we were at the toy convention, would be a little-known game called Tatsunoko versus Capcom for the Nintendo Wii. You've heard of Marvel versus Capcom. You've heard of Capcom versus SNK. You've certainly heard of Street Fighter. But Tatsunoko versus Capcom on the Nintendo Wii, of all places. Let me just get out my nunchuck here, and we'll get started. Right? No, that's not how this goes, okay? It's actually kind of a chore just to get this game playable, because it is on the Nintendo Wii, and we'll get into that a little later. But for now, I've held you long enough. Let's just get into some action, play a couple matches, and then we'll come back to the booty segment. How's that sound? It's one hell of a fighting game. Absolutely love it. This is Tatsunoko versus Capcom for the Nintendo Wii. Alright, I'm going to give you some hella music. Boom! Alright. I started us off here because I wanted to show you the roster here. Now there's a lot more characters to unlock, but I want to show you the familiars. You got Ken, Ryu, Chun-Li, Morgan, Alex is a Street Fighter 3 guy. Some more obscure guys like Batsu's a Capcom character. Mega Man from Mega Man Legends playable in this. You got an Onimusha guy, Beautiful Joe. And then there's all these other weird people who you've never heard of. Okay? And they're the Tatsunoko guys. We'll talk about what Tatsunoko is in a second. But I'm going to pick my team of two. I'm going to pick Kasan, who's this guy who's got a robot dog that breathes fire. And then we'll pick Ryu also. I usually don't pick Ryu, but I just want you guys to get a sense of how this game is different from, say, Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 3. This is much more in line with the Marvel vs. Capcom series. This was made before Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And in my opinion, alright Alex, back off. It's a cooler game. And you're like, well, what's Tatsunoko? Alright, first of all, let's get the basics out of the way. So Capcom obviously they made Mega Man, they made the Street Fighter series. If you're a gamer, you know Capcom. But Tatsunoko is actually an anime series an anime cartoon studio from Japan. And they were very big in like the 70s and continued to make good stuff all the way up into the 80s and maybe even the 90s. I think to this day they may still be around, but they were like pretty much unknown for some time until this game came out. Exclusive to the Wii. And you look at this game and you're like, why in God's name did this go to the Wii of all places? And that I can't tell you. I have no idea why this didn't make it anywhere else. The interesting thing about Capcom is they've always been really good about playing up to the underdog. A fine example of that is take a look at all the great Capcom games that were on the Sega Dreamcast. Here was a system that wasn't getting a lot of attention in the third-party department. EA, for example, was really pissed off at 2K Studios for making a very competent football game for the Sega Dreamcast exclusive. So as a result, EA didn't put anything out for the Sega Dreamcast. EA's, obviously a huge developer. You're going to get a lot of money having a Madden on your side, or like, you know, a FIFA. So, but Capcom, you know, they didn't care. They put out a whole bunch of great fighting games, fighting games that never made it to any other system. And you got to think about all the development time that went into those exclusive Capcom games that never saw it anywhere else except for the Dreamcast and the arcade. And so I think this is a prime example that, you know, the Wii was having a real hard, you know, Nintendo's, ever since after the SNES, Nintendo's always had kind of a hard time finding third parties to make for their systems. And they've depended, you know, largely, Nintendo has depended largely on their first party properties, their Zeldas and their Marios. But here's Capcom, you know, putting together this really well put together fighting game and dropping it. No, I don't even think this made it to arcade. So it's like, it's so just strange to me, considering, you know, what the Wii is known for, which is motion controls, to have this hardcore fighter on it. You may hear some clicking going on right now, and that's my controller. I'm not using a stupid nunchuck and motion controls here, okay? I'm using a juggernaut of a stick, and it's a stick that I actually had to get a second converter just to make it playable on a Wii. I'm trying to, like, not talk during these in-betweens here. I should just keep going, you know, I should just keep going. Tekka Man, this guy's great. This guy is Tekka Man is otherwise known as the Space Knight. And there he is, with the rainbow on his chest. That guy's awesome. Let me get serious with this guy. Let me get my dog out. Oh, I almost had him. Oh, look at, he's got that space lance. Yeah, this guy's serious business. And of course, I'm fooling around. There we go. Fire-breathing dog. Meanwhile, Kassan, you know, he's like a robot dude. He's an android. And half the fun of playing Tatsunoko versus Capcom, you've got a host of Capcom characters that either had never been in a fighting game yet. For example, the title character in Dead Rising is playable in this. I believe he's playable in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 as well, but this was the first game he was ever playable. You know, you've got Beautiful Joe in here. Characters that never were in a fighting game before this one for Capcom. I think that Mega Man Legends version of Mega Man was never in any of that fighting. What is he doing? Wow. Go to the top. But half the fun is not only seeing what kind of Capcom characters are in here, but also learning about this mysterious animation studio called Tatsunoko. And, you know, it's in the world we're living in, it's extremely easy to learn about them because, you know, there's YouTube. So I remember when I first got this game, I was like, well, I like this Kassan guy. I wonder what he's like. And so then I went on to YouTube and I watched a couple, I believe he was just a character in a feature-length film. Feature-length anime film. And I watched it. Let's, actually, I think we're going to go over here and play one more match. Because I want to show you, yeah, check this guy out. PTX 40A. Okay? Now, I remember when I first played this with Pat, he's like, that dude's from Lost Planet, right? Nah, I don't know. I never played Lost Planet, but if you had an Xbox 360, here you go. So, look at this. No, he's got no teammate, but who needs it, right? Hardcore. Ugh, jeez. So not only do they have a pretty good amount of rather obscure Capcom characters as new guys, and, you know, some of your old favorites, obviously, there's this whole host of really inventive characters from the Tatsunoko Studios to learn about. And I'll tell you, I remember when I first got this game, I was like, kind of going back and forth between, alright, get out of there, son. Booyah! Oh, I dizzied him. Did you see that? Yeah, I was going back and forth between this game. I would, you know, take a guy through his campaign, and then go to like YouTube. All right, we'll stop it there and watch whoever I just unlocked. All right, thanks guys. We'll come back, play a little more of that in a second. All right. I have to keep an eye on this to make sure it's not gonna. I have to pause it in the next round here. This chest. I don't know how I feel about this chest. I feel like it's certainly appropriate to what we're doing here today. Uh-oh, we're fighting Kasan in the next match. All right. It's certainly relevant. But I feel like you guys are going to be rolling your eyes for days on this one. This has been sitting in the burner for a while. This is a deal that I was particularly happy with. But there was always other deals to do before it. But here we are. We're talking about the Toy Fair, the Indianapolis Toy Fair, where you see, you know, many people like Ryu and Kessan, you know, walking around, you know, eating pretzels or, you know, buying pop vinyl figures. This is the time to do it. So I walked into a pawn shop one day, and I saw that they had a whole heaping handful. Wait for it. Of Skylanders. Okay? Skylanders. Yeah, this is where we're going today. We're going to talk about Skylanders because some of you may not understand what it is, and I don't blame you, okay? So this is going to be a little bit of a buyer's guide on what Skylanders are, and I'm going to show you the Skylanders we ended up with in this particular deal, which wasn't that bad of a deal at the end of the day. But Skylanders is a game that's been around for about 3-4 years now. It's been on many systems. And there's about 4 different versions. But the important thing to take away from this is a 3D platformer that allows you to use action figures as memory cards and progression holders for this little game. Okay? So if your buddy has Skylanders at his house and you happen to have your figure in your pocket, you can go over to his house, pop your figure onto his portal, and the two of you are now playing your respective characters together. Alright? So let's take a look. This thing is pretty important. This is what makes the characters, the little toys, interact with your console. Okay? They're USB, and that's good to know because for the most part, these things work with every system. There's one exception. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the Xbox seems less compatible with these than the PlayStation and the Wii. What I mean by that is this portal here, for example, works on a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 3, Nintendo Wii, and a Nintendo Wii U. But for whatever reason, it will not work for Xbox. So if you're buying for this, you need to know what system you're buying for and get the correct portal. Now, the figures themselves work across all platforms, so don't worry about that. If you happen to see one random Skylander sitting on a shelf in a thrift store for $1, and you're like, well, I don't know what it's compatible for, so forget it. It's okay. You can still, you buy it, and who knows, maybe you find yourself at a Skylander party one day. That sounds like a hot party, doesn't it? Okay. All right. In addition, there's this little hole there. See that hole in that speaker? We'll get into that in a second. But anyway, they had a whole bunch of these Skylanders. And I played some Disney Infinity. And I found this intriguing enough where I thought, they've got quite a few here. If I try and pull a bundle, this might be a good deal. So, at first, I had this one guy, and he was like, I think he wanted to do $3 a figure. And I wasn't going to do that. That seemed like too much. But at the time, I knew absolutely nothing about Skylanders. And I was looking at a couple of the figures, and they seemed like they were a little more special than most of your run-of-the-mill figures. Like this one here. This first guy that really caught my eye. It appears to be some sort of mirror. See that? And the mirror seems to be reflecting an angelic dwarf in one side, and more of a naughty dwarf. You know, depending on how you look at it. And knowing what I know from Disney Infinity led me to believe that this is some sort of expansion world. And when I looked it up, it was indeed true. This is like some sort of Bizarro world to the Skylanders world. So I was already like, okay, well, this bundle's got the PlayStation 4 game, which I really, you know, I used to be very much about buying PlayStation 3 games if they're cheap, but there's a lot to be said for being able to stream your games. So the fact that this was a streamable game kind of drew me in a little bit, made it a little more sweet. And then on top of the game itself, which is all here, you've got an expansion port. And that's one big difference between this game and Disney Infinity. Is Disney Infinity, if you don't have a world, one of these guys, to put on your portal, you're basically stuck playing kind of like a level editor. This has a full story mode game right on the disc. So I think that's a nice touch. Hey, stop fighting. I pressed pause there in accident. Alright, so let's take a look at these guys. I'm not going to keep you on this all day, but I want to show you a couple of them. This guy here, you'll notice he's huge, and he's got this big glossy weapon. I got one more of those in here. Here you go. Notice these guys have big glossy weapons. These guys are trap team members. What's a trap team member? Well, they play in part with this little hole here. Okay? As you go through the Skylanders world, you're going to come across villains. Big baddies. And if you manage to defeat the villains, it kind of turns into like Ghostbusters in that you can place a trap in this hole if you have the right element. Place it in there. And then it will contain the villain's soul. And the villain will actually talk out of this little speaker, which is a nice touch. This thing will light up, telling you he's in there. And what that means is when you can switch between whatever Skylander you're playing and whatever villain you have in your possession. So, yeah, it's kind of like Ghostbusters. You know, you've got them in your containment unit, and you can pull them out at any time and switch egos on the fly back and forth. So there's quite a few here. This guy's barfing up lava. And he's actually got a blue base there, as opposed to the rest of ours, which have red bases. And that comes into play with what version of these games are. I think this guy is the Giants version. So the farther back the version, the more of these games, these figures can play on. So this guy can play in the Trap Team world, but this lady, she was made after the Giants installment, so she can't go there. Let me see. There's my personal favorite. You got a lady with a flamethrower. I think her name is Torch. And, you know, all you do is you place these guys on the portal, and then they come to life on the screen. And then from there, you're just running around, mucking around, collecting stuff, defeating monsters. Your basic 3D platformer, so very high production value. This is one of the rarest pieces we have, which is a trap. It fits in the portal. But this guy's designed to trap the lead boss of the previous 3 games. And he's voiced by the same guy who did Invader Zim. So that kind of gives you an idea of, you know, there's surprised how many celebrities are involved with this series. But it's funny, you know, this guy here, this little guy on a good day can go like for $20. Isn't that crazy? But, you know, when you get into these add-on, I mean, don't get your kid involved in these, because it's a slippery slope. We got a whole number of these. You'll notice the different colors. They're all element-based, so you need the right trap to trap the right villain. You can defeat him, but if you didn't spend $3-4 to get the purple trap, you can't keep him. This guy I think's really cool. This guy actually is a harpoon gun. And if you level him up enough, you can charge the harpoon gun to turn it into like a launchable anchor. I actually really got a big kick out of playing this dude. Half of these guys I haven't even played, and I probably won't. But they are fun. They're certainly well made. And you've always got extras for if a friend comes over. One buddy of mine, Anubis, he's like, you know, I'd love to play that game, but I want to be a dragon. And I'm like, well, there's plenty of dragons. So, you know, in my case, I love flamethrowers, so I stuck with the lady with the flamethrower. So there's plenty of room for different styles. Here's another cool dragon. That's, I believe he's called Blades. But, you know, you just need to be careful. And I think the reason it's good that we're talking about this now is the holiday season's coming up. And the holiday season's coming up, and people are going to be looking to unload some of these because a new version comes out. Disney Infinity has been discontinued. So you're going to come across eventually a bag of these and decide, is it worth it? My guide in this is count up the pieces, and if you can get it somewhere under $1 each piece, I think you're doing okay. It's a fun game. Just make sure you got yourself a portal, you got yourself a game disc, and you got yourself a slew of characters to play with, and start from there, okay? Don't be worried about collecting all of them. Be worried about having your own little Skylander team. It's multiplayer. I've never played it multiplayer, but I imagine that's pretty amusing. It certainly had that kind of action RPG appeal of, say, a Dark Alliance or a Champions of Norath or, you know, Diablo, just on a much smaller scale, and certainly takes itself a lot less seriously. She wanted 40 for how many we had here. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's no real point. I don't even know the names of half these guys. I feel like I'm kind of uninformed. But she asked for 40 on this. I counted it up. She had about 30 pieces. Some of them being figures, some of them being the PS4 disc, some of them being these very common traps, and one of them being obviously the very uncommon trap. Wherever he went, that black trap. I did a little more research. You know, when $3 guy wouldn't budge, I left, did some research on this, came back, realized that, yeah, there are some less common pieces here, and it's the PS4 version. She wanted 40, I did 30. And that basically rounded out to about a figure, $1. So $1 a figure. $1 a piece. So there you go. Yeah, look for bundles on this, and you may make some kid's day if you happen to find a bunch of them together. And I would also say don't be afraid to ask low, because nobody wants these days. These are really cheap these days. Even in a retail store, you can get some of the smaller, some of the older versions for around $2 retail. So that's in a good store. I don't know if that's going to happen here in Indianapolis, but I know there's some country stores that are paying at that rate. So anyway, there you go, Skylanders. I will stop bothering you with that. You can send your Rotten Tomatoes to gaminggalleon@gmail.com. No more toys, damn it. No more Skylanders, damn it, Cap and Raz. But, you know, what can I say? It's Toy Fair season. I thought it was time to look at some toys. Okay, let's get back to Tatsunoko versus Capcom. I think we'll be able to play this all the way out. Maybe we'll get the ending for Ryu or Kasan. And then we'll address your questions and whatnot over here in the mess hall live. Please feel free to have a question ready. If you type it there right in front of my face when I start asking for them, I guarantee I'll answer them. If not, we'll go right over here to the bag that tells no tales and pull one of your old questions from there. Not old, just waiting in the wings. Okay, let's get going. It's criminally underrated Tatsunoko versus Capcom for the Nintendo Wii. Get off me! Oh, I need my headphones. Not nearly as much fun without my headphones. Alright, here we go. Woo! That's better. It's a mirror match. Oh! Oh, man. I got him. Nope, I didn't. Oh, I did get him on the last hit. Nice. Oh. Stopping the throws. Oh, now this guy, another obscure Capcom character. This guy's from the final Onimusha game. I've never played it. It was like they rebooted the series and then didn't do anything with it afterward. Boom! Not so much. Ugh. Whoa, what's a car chase doing back there? Oh, that poor dog. Just smacked that guy's dog with my foot. Whoa, that's a double team. Oh, man. Jeez. Finish him. As you can see, the computer's not giving up much of a fight here, which is good for me because I'm not particularly good at this game. I will admit it. Pat is somewhere nodding his head. He's like, you sure ain't. You didn't have to tell me twice. Trying to tag. There we go. Breathe fire on him! But the best thing about these over-the-top Capcom fighters is, like, it's pretty easy to hit. You know, when you're shooting a beam that's you know 6 feet wide or tall, that's pretty hard to miss. Come on, guys. Batsu. I don't know if you guys ever played Rival Schools. That now we're getting into like obscure Capcom fighters. It was a 3D fighting game. They had it in the arcade. Made it for PlayStation 1, which is how I played it. And then they made a sequel called Project Justice for the Dreamcast, which is like super hard to find, super rare. But the whole gimmick with rival schools was rival high schools beating each other up, and so of course you have to have all your fighters have these ridiculous occupations. Like I believe there was a school nurse. There was like this really dorky English teacher who played like Ryu. But then there were a lot of the kids. One girl I think was like a band teacher. Like I don't know. I think she was in the band. And then you had a lot of jocks. There was a girl who would set and spike you like a volleyball. That was awesome. And another guy who flat out came into a fight with a baseball bat. Like Baseball Fury style. Yeah. This F. Sumatsu, man. I don't know much about him. I think he's a high school student also. But he looks like a cockroach to me. Go get him! Yeah, see if I could capitalize on that right. Yeah, but if you ever see rival schools in a thrift store for $5, I'd pick it up. Not exactly that easy to find. Alright, who's next? Polomar and Ken the Eagle. Now, Ken the Eagle, this guy's the most recognizable, I'd say, of all these Tatsunoko characters. I do remember seeing this guy. And maybe you do too. Oh man. Palomar, on the other hand, this guy kind of plays like for any Street Fighter hardcores out there, plays like Mikado. His movement speed is very slow when he's walking around. You can't tell right now because he's jumping around, but just him walking. Wonderful! Ugh. And as for controls, that's really going to weird you out because, believe it or not, this game actually plays with only 3 attack buttons as opposed to most Street Fighter games having 6. This game basically has 4 buttons. It's got 3 attacks, and then 1 tag button. So you see Ryu here fighting with punches and kicks. That's all done with the same 3 buttons. Definitely. Oh! Oh, did you see that double jump? Not to pat myself on the back too much, but that's what else she wrote. How are we doing at time? 46. I'll tell you what, I'm going to run this whole hour out. Because this is easy. This is fast. This is dirty. Oh, but I think this is it. This looks like this is the end of the line here. Oh, yeah. So there's got to be one big bad cheapo at the end of every fighting game, doesn't there? Now, this is an SNK bad. We should be able to beat this guy. I'm going to open with Ryu. Oh, that being said, it's been a while since I fought this guy. Oh, come on. Oh, I guess I had to block low there. Counter! Wonderful! Alright, now that was unblockable, and it drains all my meter. Which is that little 0 meter there in the lower left-hand corner. So this is really all about using it all. Alright. Yeah, did I win? Oh, what a twist! Eat your heart out, Walking Dead. We got some serious twists in a Capcom fighting game. Second evolution! Alright, Casson, you're in. We're gonna go with Ryu. I usually like to have, in these boss fights, one guy who's at full strength going into that last round. Oh boy. Oh no! Let him go! Let him go! Alright, Casson, you're in. Whew. Okay. And we'll open with Ryu. And hopefully he can put enough of a dent in this guy to finish it off. This guy's... seem to remember him sucking. No! I tried to do my super! Oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Alright, get out of there. Oh my god. Loving this music. Boom! He didn't like that. It really hurts me that Ryu really needed to get a couple beams off there. Come on, get up. Come on, baby. No! Ah! Oh! Alright, we'll run it out there. I'll leave on a loss, I don't care. Yeah, look at all dots. All dots. Guy may as well teabag me. Alright, that's it. It was close. I really needed Ryu to perform a little better there at the end. But unfortunately, I'm not that good. And I blew it. What was I playing on? We've seen this one before. I should really come up with a good name for this guy. It's called The Blaze. This was made in like the PlayStation 1 era. Okay, so believe it or not, this thing was made for a PlayStation 1. And then I had to use an additional converter, plug the PlayStation 1 into this converter, and this converter works for GameCube and for the original Xbox. So the old Blaze here is a pretty versatile old sweetheart. Alright, so there you go. That was Tatsunoko versus Capcom. There's more characters to unlock. Some that you've never heard of and some that are old favorites. And there's also this mini-game, 4-player mini-game that, believe it or not, is a top-down shooter in which you can play as, there's 4 characters, Ryu, Tekka Man, who is the Space Knight. I don't know who the third guy, I think Ken the Eagle. Yeah, Ken the Eagle. And then finally, that gigantic robot from Lost Planet. And it's nothing pretty. It's just a top-down shooter, which is a really nice add-on to this game. You can play competitively or cooperatively for points. Really, like one of the best add-on mini games I've ever seen unlockable for an action game. So pretty cool. This game, why didn't it make it anywhere else? I don't know. Why isn't it on any other system? I don't even think it's downloadable for the Wii U. Well, it would be playable for the Wii U. But the fact that, you know, you don't have a proper joystick for your Wii, you have to go through all this trouble of, you know, doing this. It's just weird to me. But it's still a great game. I highly recommend it. Okay, let's get to the mailbag. We've got a little more time here. We're going to take a look at, see here if you have any questions in the mess hall. And if not, we'll head on over to the bag that tells no tales. Okay, I'm looking for questions. Oh wow, there's I'm seeing a lot of numbers here. Like you guys actually know what you're talking about. I'm seeing 480i. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Talking about downscaling resolution. Wow. Yeah, you guys are blowing my mind right now. Okay, I don't see any questions here. So in that case, we'll get over to the bag that tells no tales. Okay? Alright, let's check it out. These have been sitting in here for weeks, or months, or maybe even years, some of them. But they're all from you. So feel free to leave one at gaminggalleon@gmail.com. We will copy it, paste it, put it on an actual piece of paper, and stick it in the bag, and I swear, eventually, we will get to it. Okay, this comes from J.D. Shore. And oh, this is actually on topic. How about that? J.D. Shore writes, Captain Raz, do you like Tekken at all? No. No. I do not like Tekken at all. It is more than just, objectively speaking, it is because Tekken, for me, was the death of the 2D fighting game for quite some time. I grew up on Street Fighter, and I loved Street Fighter. Played my share of Mortal Kombat, mainly because it sat next to Street Fighter. And 2D was my game. And then along came a little game by Namco called Tekken. And it looked ugly. It had less buttons than Street Fighter. And it just seemed like everybody wanted to play it because it was 3D. And that was it. It didn't look half as good as Street Fighter, and it wasn't nearly as fun, in my opinion. So no, I don't like Tekken. Even to this day, I mainly steer clear of it. But I think it's got a lot to do with how it tried to defeat 2D fighting. Eventually, 2D fighting came back to where we are today. But yeah, there was a time there where Tekken was everywhere and Street Fighter was nowhere to be found, and I really hated that. He's got one more other question here. What about Smash Bros? Yeah, I like Smash Brothers. I'm not very good at it, at least in a competitive sense. I'm good enough to, give my pals a run for their money. But that's about it. I do like the roster, especially where it is today. When Smash Brothers Melee came out, I was a little disappointed with the amount of carbon characters there were. They started making guys like Ganondorf, who played a lot like Captain Falcon. Who else was very samey there? Falco played a lot like Star Fox. Like Dr. Mario. There were just too many small variations. I didn't think that was necessary. Wasn't there like a Ness? Like Ness into Lucas. And then when Brawl came out for the Wii, I really didn't like that game. And it wasn't just because the roster carbon copying continued. They made some pretty cool new characters, like the Pokemon trainer. And Snake was in it. That was okay. But they really blew it on level design. I think that they were too influenced by the competitive fighting community, who's all about, I want to play on one level, I want to play on Final Destination, no platforms, no X factors, no environment, no items. I think that they really took that and ran with it with Brawl. So you got levels like Smashville that, I'm an Animal Crossing fan. So when I heard Animal Crossing was going to be in Smash, I was all about it. But I expected to be fighting in the village. A lot like Onet, the Earthbound level, done very well. But Smashville is like you're just flying out in orbit here on one level. I thought that was so stupid. Such wasted potential. Finally, for the Wii U, Smash Brothers 4, I think, really came around and kind of appeased everyone, myself included. The roster is second to none. They put Mega Man in there. How can I say no to that? A little disappointed they took out the Pokemon trainer, but that's okay. And then the level designs were back. We're back where they needed to be. So I think it's a good series. I think it's always going to be fun. And I think that's how people should usually take it, is fun. It's very funny to go to one of those tournaments and see how seriously people take Smash. Much like how Pat and I take Street Fighter. It's just a fighting game. Calm down. All right, that's it. I've run your ear off long enough with silly kid stuff like Skylanders and anime. What kind of a show was this, huh? What kind of a voyage was this? Thanks for joining me at the Wyndham West Hotel. I'm going to head on off the bridge and captain's quarters and hit the buffet that's here at the hotel. I hope you have a nice week. We'll see you next time. We'll have another adventure coming up, hopefully with some fun, with some mystery, and maybe a laugh or two. Until then, my friends. Well, and adieu to ye Spanish ladies. Well, and adieu, ye ladies of Spain. For we received orders for to sail to the West Ham. The Wyndham. The Wyndham. And we may never see ye fair ladies all gone. Keep your powder dry, mateys.